Welcome to another episode of Nerds Amalgamated. I am the DJ, and with me today I have the Professor. How's it going?
Oh, about as well as it can be.
You're enjoying the drama that's been going on in the last few days?
Yeah, let's just not talk about the American election at all.
Hey,
that's going to be way too controversial.
But hey, it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt.
Yeah.
But there have been some crazy events going on besides the election. I mean, what was it the other day? A couple of games have been delayed as well.
Cyberpunk 2077 again? Say it ain't so.
When have we not heard that line before?
One day it'll come out. One day. Did you do anything for Halloween?
Nah, I didn't do much. Nah, the thought did cross my mind of doing something, but I decided not to.
Now, to be clear, we're not stupid, but our last episode will come out after Halloween because of our recording dates. So this episode is going to come out the week after, and it's going to make us look like we're really behind.
Well, that's the joys of living upside down.
Didn't do much, but had a bit of a get-together with my friends. You know, it's a very American thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to deny an excuse to make chocolate spiders. You do know what those are, right, DJ?
Candy? Candy?
Kinda.
Yeah. The only thing that reminds me of spiders are those Coca-Cola spiders and Pepsi spiders and all those drinks.
No, you're un-Australian, mate. No, chocolate spiders. You know those deep-fried noodles that you put on salads?
Yeah.
You get them and you mix them with melted chocolate and peanut butter.
Okay, that'd be fun. That'd be really fun.
It's worth it. I mean, they're not very good for you, but they're delicious.
But at least it's more worthwhile than the first topic, which is games being delisted.
Yeah, you still got to work on your segues.
So, you got a story about a place where dead games live on.
Well, no, they go there to die. A place where dead games live on would be Blue Maxima's Flashpoint, which is a project by a guy I used to play games with who rigged up this thing. It's basically a offline Flash player, and there's a version that you can download with like 500 gigs of Flash games. They included a couple of other protocols towards the end as well, but absolutely insane program that they did.
Gotta give them props for thinking of an idea like this one.
Yeah, well, in this case, this is where games go to die. This is delistedgames.com. It's a website I just found out about this week, which is a new site specifically catering to games that are shutting down. And I know a couple of different people have tried to do that. I've actually included a link to Ross Scott's Dead Games News. Ross Scott, you might know better as the guy behind the Free Man's Mind series. Well, this one's been going on for a bit longer than that, but I only just picked up on it recently. They catalog games that are shutting down, games that are being taken off servers, off stores. So one of their most recent articles is the Sega 60th anniversary, where they released games for less than a week and then entirely remove them. So you can't ever play them again. There's one there about the game Friday the 13th, which is having their dedicated servers shut down, and a final patch, which is nice that there will be a final patch to free the game and basically make it playable in the future.
Wait, Friday the 13th, the game is shutting down? Man, that was a fun game.
Yeah, except for that ridiculous cutscene at the beginning of every match. That guy, I don't remember which character it is, but the one who screams during the cutscene. Like, Jason comes out of the bushes and stabs someone, and then this guy just, completely open mouth sort of scream, but looks completely ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that one.
Yeah, so...
The scream. He looks like he wants to eat something.
You're including the timestamp there. Yeah, so the game is going to continue to be for sale, and you can continue to play peer-to-peer, which is better than some other games that I've seen shut down recently. There's also Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, which has online features, which aren't really necessary because it's a single-player game, but it is going to shut down, and there will be a couple of achievements you cannot get.
Oh, that's gonna suck.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate that that games are shutting down, but I think this is a great product, or a great service. Being able to have a list, it's basically a historical list of what we've lost.
I get the whole archiving the games and whatnot, but yeah, like for example, Shadow of Mordor losing all these like online achievements and stuff, that kind of defeats the purpose of like getting the game in the first place.
Yeah, if you're an achievement hunter, then you're going to miss out now. Same things really bugged me about Left 4 Dead 2, that there was a Christmas event one year and you cannot get that achievement anymore. But it is nice to see that they are releasing final bug fixes.
Here's another thing I do have to wonder though. Does this this website, do you reckon this will classify most of these games like, okay, even though this game was not popular on sale, it has a cult following, and you can visit the Delisted Games to check out the cult following of these games.
There's not really anywhere to, like, there's a comment section, but it's not really where you'd find the community for a game. You'd still go to their particular websites.
You reckon this will be the new norm?
That game shut down, yeah.
Oh, well,
because more and more games have online features, even when they don't need them, and that's just the way the industry's going at the moment.
Yeah.
But it does also mean that this is something that's going to happen to every game from now on. You're going to lose access to features that in the games that, you know, you might not care about them, but someone does.
Yeah.
And they might not add much to the gameplay, but it is still sad to see them being taken out.
And what's going to be interesting with these games being delisted and stuff would be the amount of money that comes through those games will be pretty minimal. Like loot boxes, for example, will be pretty much like, we're not getting much money from the loot boxes in these games, so we're delisting them now.
Yeah, they're going to mostly delist games that aren't making them any money. Or in the case of sports games, you'll delist the game that came out last year so you can sell your next game, which is same bugs, same engine, just change the names of the characters.
And unskippable ads.
Unskippable ads. Yeah, so you can't buy the older sports games anymore.
I'm surprised IGN and all these games companies have not seen this website.
Yeah, I haven't, I'm kind of surprised this is the first I'm hearing of it.
Is it big, the delisted community?
It's big enough. There's a decent number of people who actually, there's been multiple attempts to catalog games that are being shut down. So there's obviously interest for it. And particularly Ross Scott is he tends to have a lot of projects that he'd like to work on, but one of the ones that he's been pushing for years now is that he's against games as a service, which games that will also be particularly affected by the service shutting down. So he's against games as a service, he's against microtransactions, he's against the servers being shut down, and he thinks that the Windows UI needs to be better.
Ross Scott, he's the guy behind Accursed Farms, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I said, the Freeman's Mind.
Yeah, because I was looking at the other video and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know he made that channel, but okay. He
also, back in the day, looked surprisingly like Gordon Freeman.
Yeah, I can see that. With that, if you take the long hair out, yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day, he had short hair. He first revealed it near the end of the Freeman's Mind series. He finally said, I'm going to do a face reveal. Here's why I haven't done it before, because people think I look like Gordon Freeman. But yeah, I think Ross is he's got a really good community, and so he has on YouTube a bit under 300,000 subscribers. But I think he could really lead a movement about this.
So with these delisted games, though, how long do they last? What's the lifespan like?
Anything from, a few months to a few years to never technically getting released. Dead Rising was going to get a MOBA, but the MOBA was cancelled when the publishers, 4A, I think, they went bankrupt and ended up selling off most of their assets to Deep Silver. I did actually just say that earlier, Ross's Dead Game News was dead, but it looks like it is actually still around. He's still doing it, but maybe not on the Dead Game News channel, maybe just on his main channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Currently, when a game is released with online services and all of that, there's the game developers don't like releasing their source code or releasing a server executable to allow the game to be run by fans. So when a game dies, it really dies. There's a lot of the time there's no way to bring the game back.
Oh, unless you get the source code. I mean,
Yeah, but you can't get the source code unless some hackers decide to really embarrass you and release your source code the same week that your game comes out. Watch Dogs Legion.
Oh, that was funny. Oh, that was absolutely a funny story. I'm like, why did you? Oh my god.
I think they did it to embarrass them because I think I saw that a while back they were making they made an ultimatum that they would release it if Ubisoft doesn't do something.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Ubisoft said, "Nah, screw you," and then you went, "Nah, you know what? Screw you too." Oh man, how did they? Oh.
I'm not sure what's more embarrassing, this or the Half-Life source code leak.
I think this is more embarrassing. I mean, Watch Dogs Legion. It was hyped to be this big game, and then all of a sudden, once you get news of this coming out, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, but the Half-Life source code came out a month or so before the game. Well, Half-Life 2 came out a month or so before the game came out, and they had to go, it basically showed that the game was not ready.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah, so this is a complete game, a complete engine that they've been using for years now being released. The other was a complete, look, you're bloody hopeless. But, they took it back and they spent another almost a year working on Half-Life 2 and came out with something amazing.
As a game developer, when you see sites like these, get delisted, delisted, do you reckon it's a good sign that game developing is growing as a whole?
No, I don't think this has anything to do with game developing. I think this is entirely on fans. Fans play a game and the game gets shut down and they want to keep playing the game. So they make sites like this.
Oh, I know.
As a game developer, I'd like to make sure any of my games keep working when if I ever can't continue to maintain the game. But that's not always an option. I think a lot of the case here, small indie games are more likely to release their source code. And of course, today's going to be the day the internet cuts out. First, there's the construction, then the internet cutting out. Oh, of course. No, wait, was that yesterday? They said they were going to do maintenance on my internet line sometime this week. But anyway, let's hope that doesn't happen again. So small games are more likely to release their source code. I think it's the same thing between developers and open source advocates. Sorry, am I still here?
Yeah, so here I'm just
okay.
I agree with you there with the whole. Okay. I agree with you there. I agree with you on the fact that the whole source codes and indie games lasting forever, even although the internet could be a bit of a fickle thing at the time.
It's saying anything, things last forever on the internet. Not entirely true. If the internet cares enough to preserve something, it will last forever.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff does get lost on the internet. And games that shut down without releasing the source code or a server exe are really kind of taking away the chance for the game to be preserved. There's no way a developer can preserve a game if they aren't... there's no way a fan can preserve a game if they don't have access to source code.
Yeah. So ultimately, in the end, it comes down to the fandoms and how much they could keep the game going and going and going.
Yeah. So sometimes a game gets reverse engineered, sometimes the source code leaks or is released officially, and fans will try to preserve a game that they enjoy.
Fair.
But, the publishers don't want us preserving the games for some reason, which is why when a game shuts down, it's damn near impossible to get access to the source.
I think
So
it comes. Sorry. I was going to say. I think it comes down to It comes down to copyright and royalties and fair use and all those. So it's the legal side of things that they're worried about.
I think it is. I think that has a big impact on why why source code doesn't release.
Yeah. And speaking of very, very greedy publishers, DC has revealed a new line of middle school graphic novels. This is going to be very, very interesting. So 2001, DC will be expanding the successful middle grade graphic novels.
What year? Sorry?
Middle grade.
What year is this going to happen?
2021.
You said 2001.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah, you missed that by a little bit, didn't you?
Okay, let me say it again. 2021. Thank you. So they'll be releasing new titles featuring Superman, Green Arrow, and John Constantine, the long-standing lead of horror title Hellblazer. And some of these titles include Metropolis Grove, The Mystery of the Meanest Teacher, Johnny Constantine graphic novel, and Green Arrow Stranded, which build on a catalog.
Wait, is Johnny Constantine going to be Constantine but for kids?
I hope not.
Because Constantine has quite a bit of adult content, doesn't it?
Yep. But in this one, I'm looking at the covers, and it looks like John Constantine is like your average school kid with a Doctor Who coat.
Well, that's what they're targeting. So
yeah. So for example, Metropolis Grove. Story is the big city is full of Superman sightings, but here in Metropolis Grove, each kid in this suburb knows he's not real except newcomer Sonia Patel, who convinces her friends Duncan and Alex to believe. When the trio discovers a mysterious cave full of super memorabilia, they can't help it to themselves, and they set off a school year full of dreams and adventures and more than few opportunities for a newfound friendship to test its limits. And when they finally figure out the resident of the cave is Bizarro, things get even more out of control.
Remind me, who is Bizarro?
Bizarro is basically a bastardized version of Superman.
Right, so we've got a fanboy.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then we've got the Johnny Constantine one, where Johnny Constantine is a 13-year-old magician who has to flee England after pissing off her hostile spirits and moves to Salem, Massachusetts, where his homeroom teacher is possibly a witch.
I like how, fortunately, John is able to find one kindred spirit at school who we can form an alliance. Another misfit named Anna. So the Anna is recruited to uncover the truth of the teacher and expose the meanest teacher's real identity to the world. And Green Arrow is Stranded, which is basically after this plane crash on a deserted planet, a 13-year-old Oliver Queen must learn the skills he needs to survive and to protect his injured father. Wait, what? His injured father? Okay.
Is that not a thing in, the main Green Arrow canon?
In the main Green Arrow canon, I think he's the sole survivor.
Okay. So it's Hatchet, but more DC.
Uh-huh.
I'd rather go and reread Hatchet.
So, Ollie always hated the idea of hunting, but his dad insisted they go on this trip with his business partner. And when Ollie fails to take the perfect shot, the teasing starts and he wonders if his dad will ever be proud of him again. Oh, come on. Is this like Titan AE? Not Titan AE, that Will Smith movie.
After Earth.
Yes, that's the one.
This is After Earth.
Yes, my God.
The difference is, since they're doing it in comic format, they don't have to deal with Jaden Smith's terrible acting.
Oh, and Will Smith just talking. You have to do it, son. You have to take it, son. You're like, I mean, I like that they're trying to do this to feed the kids like some good material, but really, storybooks about fanboys and just teachers, secrets about your teachers, and
I know this is targeted at 12-year-olds, but I'm not really seeing anything that appealing here. Even when I was 12, I don't think I would have read these stories.
What was I reading when I was 12? I was reading like X-Men comics, like and some and the odd Archie comic. But this is just like, this just feels a bit too PC. Although I like how in one of the in Metropolis Grove, it's the sign saying like, yes, it'll be full of drama and adventure. Wait, what drama and adventure? This isn't Stand By Me, you know. What the point with these comics normally is supposed to be like, oh, there has to be like this grand moral of the story kind of thing. But for these comics, they don't really say any message at all. Well, except for Oliver McQueen, is just basically saying, yes, you have to survive on your own and listen to your dad at the same time. And the art style for these comics, I mean, they're not that appealing.
No, it looks very, by numbers, here's a story for 12-year-olds, sort of.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's been a long time since I was a 12-year-old. Not as long as some people, but maybe this is actually what's appealing to 12-year-olds these days.
Yeah, I just think the arts. I just think the
art style for Stranded looks alright.
Yeah, the art style for Stranded looks alright, but it's just the other two, like Constantine and Metropolis Grove. It feels like
Metropolis Grove looks a bit like Captain Underpants.
Really? I was thinking more like Peanuts.
Maybe.
Yeah. They're also saying here this is to build on a catalog featuring a number of acclaimed titles including Green Lantern Legacy, The Oracle Code, and oh no, not Gotham High. Oh no, not Gotham High, please, not Gotham High.
Is this gonna be like Batman and Joker in high school?
Have you heard? Oh no, I hope not. You heard of Gotham High, right? What the story
No, I haven't.
Gotham High. It was a stupid idea. I don't know why they picked that idea in the first place. Gotham High. Here we go. So after being kicked out of his boarding school, 16-year-old Bruce Wayne returns to Gotham City and finds that nothing is as he left it. So he visits the Gotham High School with a dangerous flair, aided by class clown Jack Napier. When a kidnapping rattles the school, Bruce seeks
Who is Jack in like DC canon?
Jack in DC canon for is Joker.
Okay, so yeah, it is Batman and Joker in high school.
Yep.
At least it's not going like really cheesy and just de-aging them. But gee, isn't it a funny coincidence that literally everyone in Gotham went to the same high school? Gotham's a big city.
Can you imagine, like, in the middle of a crime-fighting spree between, like, Batman and Superman? Superman goes like, "Gee, hey, I know you. You went to my high school, didn't you?" And Batman goes, "Huh, small world, huh?"
As long as they don't do some dumb Joker became Joker because Batman bullied him.
But yeah, with these DC comics for middle schoolers, I could see the appeal, like with the art styles and whatnot. But would I want to read them over and over again? Like, just would they read it over and over again? I doubt it. It's up to the reader in the end.
Yeah, I guess I guess we're not 12 anymore, so maybe we just don't see what's appealing about this.
Nah.
Stranded, maybe Stranded would be interesting to me but it sounds like they're going more for the people drama than the survival drama.
Yeah, I think it's the same case with all the other stories. It's more of the people drama that they're looking into.
Yeah, even Lord of the Flies has a good combo of survival drama and people drama. Sure, it's a story about people being horrible, but it has the survival drama in it as well.
The question would be, though, how much of that drama will be taken to its logical conclusion in these books, though? Like, are they going to expand it to various levels, or are they going to keep it to a very simplistic form of view? Because
probably simple.
Because even though it's, I mean, simple is one thing, though, but then you have to teach the kids, like, okay, the world is a very, very complicated place.
Yeah, but kids aren't always ready to have the very, very complicated stuff. So, the best kids' stories manage to distill the complicated parts of life and tell a story that, can go deep, but isn't tied up in being too complicated for the kids to understand. And speaking of complicated, we've got our next story is about man's best friend and its complicated history in terms of evolution. So, no, we're not. Your segues, no, they need to be better.
So this
What's
one...
with the doggies?
So there's a study of dog DNA has shown that man's best friend is the oldest of all. So the analysis have revealed that dog domestication can be traced back to 11,000 years to the end of the last ice age.
Wow, so people didn't have dogs during the Ice Age. Like, how did they, what did they do to have fun? You can't go and play with your dog. What are you going to do?
I think they did something else. But one of the...
mammoths to extinction.
Yep. So one of the co-authors, Dr. Pontus Gogland, who's the group leader of Ancient Genomics Laboratory at London's Crick Institute, said dogs are really unique in being this quite strange if you think about it. When all the people was still hunter-gatherers, they domesticate what is really a wild carnival. Wolves are pretty frightening in many parts of the world. The question of why did people do that? How did they come about? That's what we're ultimately interested in.
Yeah, what's interesting is that there are other studies where they took wild dogs and domesticated them, bred them for domestication. And it only took something like 40 years to get what would be considered a domesticated dog. So it looks like once the process started, it would have been pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not 40 years quick because the breeding wasn't as selective, but, 100 years maybe?
Yeah. They're saying here, to some extent, the dog genetic patterns mirror human ones because people took their animal companions with them when they moved. There were also some important differences. So one example is early European dogs were initially diverse, appearing to originate from two different distinct populations, one Near Eastern dogs and another Siberian dogs. But at some point, perhaps after the onset of the Bronze Age, a single dog lineage spread widely and replaced all other dog populations on the continent.
Okay, so as soon as they were domesticated, they outcompeted the wild dogs. Probably because the humans were killing the wild dogs, so they didn't get bitten.
Yeah. Although one of the other authors was saying that if you look back more than 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, we could see that Europe was a very diverse place when it came to dogs. Although European dogs we come to see today is a very extraordinary array of shapes and forms. Genetically, they derived from only a very narrow subset of the diversity that used to exist.
Okay.
So basically, it's we're seeing evolution. Evolution going around with the dogs as well. Like, how we had like Neanderthals, then the hominids. Like, we've seen that in a very different way with dogs as well. Like, we got the wolves and the dogs, and we see it getting branched out to various other species and whatnot.
And chihuahuas.
Yeah, chihuahuas.
How did that happen?
So breeds like the chihuahuas, they retain the genetic traces of ancient indigenous dog from that region, and that region includes Mexico and Southern Africa. So the results of this study suggest that all dogs derived from a single extinct wolf population, or perhaps a very few closely related ones. If there if there was multiple domestication events around the world, these other lineages did not contribute much DNA to later dogs.
That's interesting that if everything came from one particular pack and then was spread across the world and probably interbreeded with local wild dogs, but if every domesticated dog could be tracked back to this one pack, that's really interesting.
Yeah, the study for this will be included into the show notes, by the way. So, but for anyone that wants to look into the data more closely. And Scotland also said that dog history has been so dynamic that you can't really count on it still being to readily read in their DNA. We really don't know that that's the fascinating thing about it.
Actually, yeah, that's a thought I've just had. So they say that the dogs were domesticated 11,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But dingoes were brought across with the Aboriginal immigrants to Australia. So, 40,000 years ago, or 50,000, whatever the number is these days, when the Aboriginal people first came to Australia and, diverged from Southeast Asians, they brought dogs with them, which became dingoes. So I wonder, do dingoes not count as domesticated, or is this a case of, I'm not sure how to interpret that then.
Well, they're saying, I'm looking at the dingo article here, and they're saying it's closely related to the New Guinea singing dogs.
Yeah.
Their lineage split early from their lineage split early from the lineage that led to today's domestic dogs, and they can be traced from the Malay archipelago to Asia.
Okay.
And a recent study shows that the lineage of those dingoes found today split from the lineage of the New Guinea singing dog and southeastern dingo 6,300 BC, followed by a split between the New Guinea singing dog and the Southeast Asian southeastern dingo lineage 5,800 BC. Try saying the New Guinea singing dog 3 times. So yeah, the study proposes that the two dingo migrations occurred when sea levels are lower, and Australia and New Guinea formed one landmass named Sahul that existed between 6,500 to 8,000 years ago.
Okay, so dingoes haven't been here that long compared to Aboriginal people. Interesting. Well, I suppose that, that explains that.
Yeah.
In fact, the article that we've linked here even includes the New Guinea singing dog. Yeah, okay. So it does say, it does actually say that, the eastern dogs derived from the New Guinea singing dog, with some interbreeding with dogs from Europe and the Russian steppe. Interesting.
It does point out, it does create an interesting idea that what other evolutions of dogs are we going to see in the near future?
I'd like to see dogs brought back to a more sort of wild state, because a lot of dog breeds are so modified that they have tons of issues. So pugs can't breathe properly because their snouts are so short.
Yeah.
German shepherds. So the problem specifically tends to derive to show dogs. Working dogs tend to be healthier. But the show breed of German shepherds is actually commonly has hip issues. But there is another breed of German Shepherd that has less hip issues because it isn't, bred for that particular body shape. So I'd like to see less show breeds, more healthy breeds. I don't know what sort of useful task you could further breed dogs into performing, though. They're already pretty specialized in the roles that they fill.
Which also begs the question, are we going to see more hybrids?
Yeah, I think one of the big pushes recently that I've seen is a push to more dog adoption rather than buying from breeders, which tends to be a mixed breed because, it's brought in from a stray dog or some sort of mutt rather than a specific single breed.
And it also begs the question whether dogs can survive with the changing climates as well. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Our climate is changing rapidly.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be an issue. I think so. There's desert dogs like the dingo. Yeah. There's snowy dogs like the husky. So maybe particular breeds will become rarer. I'm actually a little bit astounded whenever I see a husky in Australia because I have no idea how that dog can be comfortable with that much fur. But
interesting you mentioned that because I had a friend of mine. He talked about getting a husky, and he says like you gotta get you gotta get two huskies because they're very social animals. And I said to him, so it's like getting a roommate, huh?
yeah, and huskies are also very active.
Yeah.
So they're good for sled teams.
Beagles are also active as hell, man.
Yeah, and beagles have good noses, which is why they're specifically picked for drug sniffers.
Are they though? I mean, bloodhounds must. I thought bloodhounds are much more better sniffers.
If you ever get sniffed at the airport, it's going to be a beagle.
Oh yeah, I get that, but I thought bloodhounds were much more potent. But okay,
maybe beagles are a better combination of trainability and sniffability. Maybe bloodhounds aren't particularly good at, following orders or alerting on particular scents.
Yeah, makes sense. Can you imagine a hybrid of those two?
And that thing would sniff for days. Like, that would probably be the dog equivalent of the smelloscope from Futurama.
Now, if only dogs can talk. Anyways, so Professor, what game have you been playing?
I'm still playing Metro Exodus.
You're having fun with that game, aren't you?
Yeah, but I have had a couple of crashes. Well, more than a couple, I suppose. But the one really bloody annoying one, I've had it crash twice where it has corrupted my save file. And because of the structure of the save files, your save that keeps track of your position in the level, your items, your ammo stays fine. But the save file that counts your difficulty level gets corrupted. So I've had it happen twice now where I play on the hardest possible difficulty and it resets me back to normal. And to fix it, I did try modifying the files by hand, but the best solution I found is to create a new save file with the settings you want, then copy over the sort of the level saves, but not the difficulty save, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So it's annoying. It's a great game, but it is the buggiest game in the series, I think.
Just curiously with Metro, so I was watching a video recently about another person doing a review of the game. Did you enjoy the strip club levels?
So there's a strip club scene in Metro Last Light, which I think actually you get a moral point if you don't go into the strip club. I think but then there's also in Exodus, there's this character called the Baron who is a slaver, and his gang has all kinds of different slaves, and I'm not going to say I feel guilty about killing him. He seems like a bad guy. But yes, those are features in the game, and they are they're there. They're optional, but they are there.
So how many?
But why would you go into the strip club in Exodus and cheat on your wife, DJ? You're married in Exodus.
Well, I don't know. maybe because I'm extra lonely. So how many nerdy beanies would you give this game out of? Even with the bug? Because last time you gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I feel like I should drop it down a bit. Maybe a 4.3, because the crashes are driving me nuts. And it feels, the game as a whole is incredible. The crashes are a pain. But yeah, so I've pulled up a walkthrough, and yes, getting a private show in the strip club is, if not a negative moral point, you don't get the moral point.
Aww.
The other thing that I seem to be missing a lot in Metro Exodus is the diary entries. you can find diaries for each level has a ton of diaries, which you can find basically notebooks left by previous visitors to the area. I'm missing a lot of them, and the postcards as well.
Nice.
But yeah, so how is Shotgun Farmers?
Shotgun Farmers is fun. It's I played it earlier on, and I didn't have a chance to expand it on, but now I played more of it. It's a fun game. I mean, you got the flamethrowers, you got the grenade launchers, you get some assault rifles as well, and they're all named after different vegetables. Like your grenade launcher is a tomato launcher. Your is it M8? Your M8 machine gun is M8 bean, and you get the grenades, which one is a pineapple.
Terrible puns. Sounds like just the game for me.
But it has its moments. It has some great moments. Like you can slap a cow. When you slap a purple cow, it gives you like it's a Molotov cocktail. Although, hang on a second, what's the Here we go. So you got the shovel, you've got the shotgun, you've got the axe, you got the carrot launcher, which is the rocket launcher, the P-volver, which is basically a revolver, sniper asparagus, chromato launch. What the? Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
We've still got Craig.
Oh, okay, good.
I think we're still going.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, you got the chili farmer, chili flamethrower, M6 bean, watermelon, strawberry, and double cob. But yeah, there are some really insane weapon names in this game. The downside to this game is there's not many people playing this game, but pretty popular on console series though, which is interesting.
Okay, yeah, I've noticed a lot of games tend to have more players on console than PC. I wonder if it's because there's less choice on console.
I think it's because of the ease of control. Like with the mouse.
You're a controller player?
Kinda, but I'm not that good with controllers rather than on PC. Yeah.
Mouse and keyboard, you master race.
I would give this game 3 out of 5 because it has potential, but it just needs more players. But yeah, It's simple and it's fun. It can be addictive, but it just needs more people to play it. But yeah. It also depends on which region you play it under. So I played on the Australia region, so there's not many people there. So
that's the other big issue.
Yeah, we'll be right back with a short commercial break. And now to our shout-outs. On the 31st of October 2020, Charles Gordon, producer of Field of Dreams, Die Hard, and Waterworld, passes away. Charles Gordon, producer of Field of Dreams, Die Hard, and Waterworld, passed away on the 31st of October at 73. He also directed the Hitman movies, which were so good nobody remembers them.
Well, seriously, do you remember them?
All I remember there was an announcement for another Hitman movie, but other than that, nothing special. No.
Yeah, they keep doing them, but I don't know anyone who's actually seen one.
And then on the 2nd of November, we saw the 10th anniversary of James Bond 007 Bloodstone. This was the 24th James Bond game and features an original story. It was the last game made by Bizarre Creations before they closed in 2011. Do you reckon that game will be on Delisted?
No, it's probably still available on Steam or somewhere, but no, Delisted is mostly for when the multiplayer server shuts down or it gets taken off Steam or Epic or whatever store you use these days.
Interestingly, they say that the Bloodstone was designed to capture the feel of a blockbuster movie with a mix of characterization and adrenaline, and it has the voice and likeness of Daniel Craig, Judi Dench, and Joss Stone. On the same day was the 19th anniversary of Monsters Incorporated, a Pixar classic about monsters who believe human children are toxic but risk their lives to extract energy from their screams. It was a breakthrough in fur and cloth rendering. Yeah, that's actually true.
Yeah, going back and looking at it, the fur on Sully is really impressive.
I reckon around 2000 onwards, those were the years when animation took off. like really took off.
Yeah, it's like I think you've got to keep in mind the difference between real-time and pre-rendered animation. So Monsters Inc. is pre-rendered and they can take advantage of, spending 3 days on a particular frame. I think that's a number I've heard thrown around for maybe the first Toy Story.
Yeah.
But, you can spend however long you want on a frame and make it look as absolutely perfect as you want. But with a video game, you're doing it real time. You're doing it, 60 times a second. And I think one of the big issues with animation in games is that you can't, you have to do it real time. So there's a lot of pushing for efficiency and nice tricks that they put in. But and a game will never look as good as a pre-rendered animation can when done correctly. But since 2000, there has been a big increase in the quality of both forms.
So on to our remembrances. Thomas Midgley Jr., creator of Leaded Fuel and CFCs, died at 55 on the 2nd of November 1944 in an accident involving another of his inventions, a system of ropes and pulleys to help him move after he was disabled from poliomyelitis. Leaded fuel and CFCs are now known to have high environmental impact, although CFCs have less obvious impact than previous refrigerants. Thomas received over 100 patents in his life. Man, that's a very tragic way to go, hey?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, 100 patents, and the things he did were, it only came out after years that they were actually bad. It wasn't until people realized, the lead in the fuel is getting into the atmosphere and affecting people. In fact, there's a correlation between the year that there was a big effort to reduce the amount of lead in fuel and other places and crime rates.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that one too, yeah.
Yeah, so theoretically, it's a correlation. I don't know if anyone's actually proven the causation. Theoretically, lower lead contamination is better for you. That's a dumb statement. Lower lead contamination is obviously better for you, but lower lead contamination also leads to lower crime rates, is what I was trying to say. I had a bit of a blonde moment.
It sounds like the dementia has gotten to you, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I like how Midgley was trying to improve the safety of one of his inventions. He participated in a press conference where he poured one of the inventions onto his hands and placed a bottle of the chemical under his nose and inhaled its vapor for 60 seconds, declaring that he could use this every day without succumbing to any problems.
Yeah, there were a couple of cases of people who deliberately expose themselves to chemicals to prove that they're not dangerous and it not going exactly like they planned.
Although the funny thing was, so however, the state of New Jersey ordered the Bayway plant to be closed a few days later, and Jersey Standard was forbidden to manufacture this product again without state permission. Midgley would later have to take an absence of leave from work after being diagnosed with lead poisoning.
Yeah.
Damn, what were you thinking? So on this day in 1950, George Bernard Shaw passes away at the age of 94. Known as Bernard Shaw, he wrote over 60 plays and many novels. Although he promoted eugenics and was an early anti-vaxxer, his drama is regarded as second only to Shakespeare. You know any good Bernard Shaw's works?
I can't say I've actually read any of it, which, considering I'm a huge fan of reading, is probably not a good sign. But no, I can't say I do know any of his work. Do you?
I do know a couple of quotes here and there, but he was a pretty deep man.
Do you know any quotes off the top of your head that you'd like to share?
I'm looking at one of his I'm looking at one of his quotes right now, which is really good. There is only one religion, though there are 100 versions of it.
Well, there's at least three versions of the Abrahamic religion.
And then what's
More
the...
if you count all of the various schisms in each side.
Yeah. Let's see. And then the other quote: "The worst sin towards our fellow creatures is not to hate them, but to be indifferent to them. That's the essence of inhumanity."
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah. Oh, here's another one. Just to top it off. "To understand a saint, you must hear the devil's advocate, and the same is true of the artist." I mean, he's a pretty well versed man.
Yeah.
And in 2002, Charles Sheffield died from brain cancer on the 2nd of November at the age of 67. He published a novel, The Web Between Worlds, at almost the same time as Clarke's The Fountain of Paradise. Both novels feature the creation of space elevators. Sheffield was chief scientist of the Earth Satellite Corporation, creating technical papers and non-fiction books featuring images of Earth from space. Charles was also the president of Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America and the American Astronomical Society. That must be awesome, with the whole space elevators concept.
Yeah, that's an odd coincidence. There's a few cases like that.
Would you reckon it's possible, though, with the whole space elevator? I know Japan have been trying to do a whole space elevator.
Not without some exotic materials that just aren't physically capable of creating at the moment.
Although whenever I think of space elevators, I always think of the Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy, where they had the space elevator, and they're going through like, oh, you're now passing Earth number 2.
Is that in the movie?
Yeah, that was in the movie.
Yeah.
So on to our famous birthdays, and on the 2nd of November 1894, Alex Lippisch was born. Alex was a German aeronautical engineer who pioneered tailless aircraft, delta wings, and ground effect. His most famous designs are the Me-163 rocket interceptor and the Dornier aerodyne. After the First World War, he worked with the Zeppelin Company, which began his research into tailless flight. In 1929, his tail-first NT became the first rocket-powered aircraft. In 1985, he was inducted into the International Air and Space Hall of Fame. He was born in Munich. On the same day in 1929, Aymar Bose was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He was a professor at MIT for over 45 years. He was motivated to find his speaker research company after he bought a high-end system with disappointing performance. Bose focused on psychoacoustics, and he also was awarded successful patents in 2 fields that continued to be important in his company, which is the Bose Corporation. And these patents were in the area of loudspeaker design and nonlinear two-state modulated Class D power processing. And he also developed an electromagnetic replacement for automotive shock absorbers intended to radically improve the performance of automotive suspension systems, absorbing bumps and road shocks, which controlling car body motions and sway. And I like his quote that the best ideas usually come to him in a flash. That these innovations are not a result of rational thought, but it was an intuitive idea.
Yeah, he's lucky that all came to him in a flash. I mean, mostly when people flash me, I'm pretty disgusted, but...
Oh, no! No, that's a mental image I cannot get rid of now. No.
Enjoy it.
On the same day in 1929, Richard E. Taylor was born. He was the Canadian physicist and Stanford University professor who shared the 1990 Nobel Prize in Physics with Jerome Friedman and Henry Kendall for their pioneering investigation concerning deep inelastic scattering of electrons on protons and bound neutrons, which have been the essential importance for the development of the quark model in the particle physics. So he did some experiments at SLAC MIT, which showed that the higher energy electrons could be scattered through much higher angles with the loss of some energy. These deep inelastic scattering results provided the first experimental evidence that protons and neutrons are made of point-like particles later identified to be up-down quarks that have previously been proposed on theoretical grounds. So these experiments also provided the first evidence of the existence of gluons. He was born in Medicine Hat, Alberta. That's a cool town name. And now to our events of interest. On the 2nd of November 1932, the Emu War begins. Or began, actually, to be too precise.
Begun
So
the Emu War has. No, I won't try to do Yoda again.
The Australian military, armed with Lewis guns, deployed in Western Australia to cull the emu population. The emus managed to mostly avoid the troops and proved difficult to kill, leading to jokes about Australia losing a war against birds, although Major Meredith noted that there was no human casualties.
Okay, Meredith compared them to Zulus. So he said, yeah, if we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks. They are like Zulus whom even dum-dum bullets could not stop.
Oh, man.
But there were no human casualties, which is good, I guess.
How much rounds of ammo did they get, though? Like 10,000 rounds of ammo?
Yeah, and one of the estimates is that it cost them about 10 rounds per bird.
Wow, they were invincible.
Yeah, and the army noted that it seemed like the birds were learning and responding, and they would have one bird keeping watch for the army. And then when the army turned up, the bird would warn them all to get the hell out.
Well, they're not as dumb as, like, what, horses, for example?
Yeah, they're smart birds.
On the 2nd of November 1947 in California, designer Howard Hughes performs the maiden and only flight of Hughes H-4 Hercules, also known as the Spruce Goose, the largest fixed-wing aircraft ever built.
Well, not quite.
Not quite?
It's the largest wooden fixed-wing aircraft ever built. The only aircraft to come pretty close to the size is the Maria, the Antonov AN-225 Maria.
Okay.
Which is the largest currently flying aircraft, even though there's only like one of them in actual service. The other, I think, was never finished. But I was looking into this, and so the Maria basically matches the size. There's some slight difference in wingspan and lengths, but it's pretty close. And the only aircraft to be bigger is the Strato launcher.
Okay.
So the Maria was... have you ever seen those photos of the space shuttle on the back of the 747?
Yeah.
The Maria was built specifically for that purpose with the Russian Buran, which was a space shuttle knockoff. And so they built the Maria, and these days they use it for extremely heavy lift operations. You can hire one to ship things for you if you want. But yeah, you can see the comparison sheet. Actually, I'll pull one up from Wikipedia. The only thing bigger is Strato launcher, built for carrying a rocket up to the upper atmosphere.
Wow.
It's a big boy. Yeah, I'm impressed that they even came close to building the Spruce Goose in this, back then. So let's see, the Maria is quite a bit longer, but quite a bit skinnier than the Spruce Goose. The Spruce Goose has a much bigger wingspan. The Spruce Goose also has a bigger tail than the Maria, which also apparently, just about matches the tail of the A380. So, there's a lot of dimensions to compare. Yeah.
And it's all and the cost was insane, like $23 million.
in 1940s money.
Yeah. And so on this day, it was launched into Long Beach Harbor, and on an unannounced test flight, thousands of onlookers came to watch the aircraft taxi on the water and were surprised when Hughes lifted his wooden behemoth 70 feet above the water and flew for a mile before landing.
Yeah, it's actually the climatic moment of what's the movie called? The Aviator?
Oh, yeah.
Which is a movie about Howard Hughes.
Okay. Whenever I think of when I think of the Spruce Goose, I always think of the Mr. Burns Spruce Moose.
Yeah, Mr. Burns is definitely inspired by Howard Hughes. That whole eccentric billionaire thing.
Yep. Would you, if they ever rebuilt the Spruce Goose, would you ever ride in it?
Maybe. I mean, it only really flew, it says it flew 70 feet above water for a mile, which isn't great. Maybe they could, if they wanted to rebuild it, maybe it wouldn't fly high. It would be a ground effect aircraft, something like the Caspian Sea Monster. So there are aircraft that are built to fly just above the waves, and the theory is that you can get much higher sort of weight limits by flying just above the water than you can by flying on your wings alone because of ground effect. I mean, it would be a hell of an experience, though, getting to ride in the Spruce Moose.
You mean Spruce Goose?
Yeah. How did I mess that up?
Come on, The Simpsons. It's The Simpsons. Come on. It's The Simpsons.
You're messing with me.
I know. So anyways, on the 2nd of November 1988, the Morris worm, the first internet distributed computer worm to gain significant mainstream media attention, is launched from MIT. So the Morris worm, or internet worm, of November 2nd, 1988, was one of the first computer worms distributed via the internet and the first to gain media mainstream attention. It resulted in the first felony conviction in the U.S. under the 1986 Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. It was written by a graduate student at Cornell University, Robert Tappan Morris, and launched on November 2nd from a computer systems of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The worm was created by Tappan simply to see if it could be done.
Yeah, the great geek thing. Just do it to see if you can. And actually, just going back to the Caspian Sea Monster, which I mentioned a moment ago.
Yeah.
I've just found out they just scooped it up and they're going to move it. So it's been sitting on a beach for decades since the Soviet Union collapsed.
No way.
Yeah, and they've just scooped it up and they're going to move it and restore it, probably for a museum piece. But
it'd be fun if they fly that thing again.
I doubt they will. It's a wonderful plane, but it is, it's going to go to it's going for a museum piece, and it's been sitting there for 30 years and hasn't been touched. So I wouldn't trust it not to fall apart as soon as you start the engines.
That's fair. But with the Morris worm, it's worked by exploiting known vulnerabilities in Unix send mail finger and RSH/REXEC, as well as
REXEC.
Thank you. As well as weak passwords. A supposed unintended consequence of the code, however, caused it to be more damaging. A computer could be infected multiple times, and each additional process would slow the machine down, eventually to the point of being unusable. And the cost of this damage? $100,000 to $10 million worth.
Yeah, it's that's a big range.
This was referred to as the Great Worm because of the devastating effect it has on the internet at the time, both in overall system downtime and in psychological impact on the perception of security and reliability of the internet.
Yeah, it was, the first major worm attack. It's mentioned at the end of Cuckoo's Nest, but it's kind of funny because RTM is now he's still big in computer software and computer science. But man, it must be incredible having possibly $10 million of damage to your name.
Wasn't there a computer a while back that had like worms and it was being auctioned off at one point?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine? Really, that's the other thing I always wondered though. Like after this worm, like there hasn't been much worms that have come and gone, have there? That done as much?
No, there's been tons.
Yeah, but they haven't done much damage as the Morrison worm has.
Where were you when WannaCry happened?
Under a rock. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and there's been some really bad worm attacks in the past decade.
And finally...
We're not just talking a worm that will stop your computer running by overloading it. We're talking about a worm that will completely wreck your computer and make it impossible to use because it's encrypted.
Fair. Oh yeah, this one, the WannaCry. Oh, I remember this worm.
It's not the only example of CryptoLocker malware, but it's one of the most famous. All created because the NSA doesn't tell Microsoft when it finds a bug. I wonder what could happen if you create your own software to break into computers and then leave it on a computer that gets broken into.
Man, they will
Yeah.
So much for security, huh? And finally, on the 2nd November 2016, Real Life premiered in Italy, and this was played for audiences in attendance of Trieste Science Plus Fiction Festival. And here's the plot. Mark is diagnosed with a disease and is given one year left to live. Unable to accept his own end, he decided to freeze his own body. 60 years later, in the year 2084, he becomes the first man to be revived in history. It is then he discovers that the love of his life, Naomi, has accompanied him this entire time in a way that he never expected. The film shares common points with Open Your Eyes and its American remake, Vanilla Sky, which was written by Matteo Gil. Here he revisits themes of love, loss, and death within the frame of cryogenics sci-fi story.
It just reminds me of that Futurama episode where Fry and his girlfriend freeze themselves for 1,000 years. And they end up in the Mad Max thing, except it turns out to be a movie set.
This one also reminds me of South Park when Cartman couldn't wait to get the Nintendo Wii, decides to freeze himself, and he goes and then he freezes himself way forward in time to the point where it's just atheism fighting against each other because of a choice of name.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that.
But yeah, that's all we have time for this week. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find us on that'snotcanon.com, where we have an archive of our old episodes, and we can also find new podcasts such as Between the Butcher and the Block. Boy, these names are getting more and more weirder.
Well, so, there's only one excuse to no excuse to go and make things even weirder.
So this podcast is their latest collaboration. Is a big idea from ordinary people, and it harkens back to a time where philosophy, politics, and metaphysics were not the sole purview of educated elites, and brings together guests with common core belief but different backgrounds. So it talks mostly about philosophy and crime. You can also find us on Pod Hero.
Yep, on Pod Hero for $5 a month, you can support us and other That's Not Canon podcasts. Your subscription is split between the podcasts that you listen to.
Well, that's all we have for this week. Take care of yourselves, stay hydrated, and
We'll see you next week.
Yeah,